Well, good afternoon and welcome to SUNY Cortland. We're very pleased to be hosting the first regional summit on harnessing systemness. By its very nature, higher education values its independence, and our institutions often have difficulty in collaborating because we feel that it might diminish our flexibility and our autonomy. This state of affairs changed dramatically in the beginning of the Great Recession. Over the past 5 years, all our public campuses in SUNY, and actually throughout the nation, have been looking for ways to find economies of scale and operational efficiencies so that we might direct more resources to instructional and student services. Recently, we discovered at Cortland that the percentage of our budget that is devoted to instruction and student support is over 70%, whereas the national average for comprehensive master's university is around 61%. I believe that we were only able to achieve this milestone because of the pressure exerted from SUNY system, demanding that we find ways to be more efficient and successful in supporting our students. I find that today we are leveraging our individual strengths as campuses into a formidable force to improve higher education in New York. 64 campuses united together without sacrificing our campus identities. As an ecologist, this reminds me of when I teach of a biological system that has interconnected elements that behave as a whole. The sum is truly greater than the individual parts. And so now it is my honor to introduce our Chancellor, Nancy Zimpher.
So Eric Bitterbaum, thank you for your hospitality. Your entire team has rolled out the red carpet. As many of you know, we've already been in 2 hours of meetings with the Shared Services Task Force that oversees the work of shared services. And you're going to meet two wonderful people who represent what I just call NCHIMs, and I think you all know. And you will meet Dennis and Ames, and I want to thank them publicly for being here. Brian Huntzley for his leadership and the camaraderie offered by David LaValle, just in case Brian gets, out of control or, missteps. We've got a twosome here. Jen Laturco's been staffing the Shared Services Task Force as well, and a number of other people in the room who are supporting. So my role is to link just the fundamental concept that we presented at the State of the University address with the work of shared services. And I can tell you, if I weren't ready to make that linkage, the last 2 hours have totally underscored the relationship between the answer to is college worth it to the work that we are doing across the system. So we set the table a week or so ago by exposing our own history. We were all so riveted on access, opening our campuses to all comers, and I realize that some campuses have varying degrees of admissions processes, but fundamentally belonging to the State University of New York says we are here for the students of New York and the students around the country and around the globe. But I think in the last 4 or 5 years, we have learned the lesson that access has to be coupled with completion. So we've got President Obama and the College Board and Lumina and every other association that we collectively have membership in calling for completion as a target within the next 10 or so years. And so I think we've gotten it. I know we're concentrating as we develop outcomes and metrics on completion, and we've defined completion broadly. It is certificates, it is associate degrees, it is baccalaureate degrees. But at the State of the University address, I think we took one more step. That diploma and completion just may not be enough to get the job done for the revitalization of the economic condition and quality of life of the State of New York. In service to the State of New York, we also have to pay attention to vocation, to application, to career, to all the skills that are associated with a high-quality life in the workplace, in the home, in the community. So we've really drilled down on this concept. And so why are we so riveted on the efficiencies and effectiveness that results from shared services? Because we can take those savings and invest them in this. And we've talked about it, we've sized it up, and I think we're now looking at strategies to truly implement a common data system that will feed Open SUNY, Smart Track, our innovation hubs, and our experiential learning, and 50 other things. So they brought me in here to deliver a message. This is all connected, and most importantly, connected to the success of our students, which is our core business. I want to thank you for coming. I know you're going to roll up your sleeves and work hard. I'm going to get in that great Chevy Tahoe and drive south, not east, but south to another destination. But I'll hear the full report on your sharing of best practices. And with that, Brian, I'll turn it back over to you. Thanks, everybody.
So I am Brian Huntzley. I'm the Vice Chancellor and CFO of SUNY, and I'm actually going to go back a slide. And I want to explain a little bit about what the committee did this morning, because the committee's been meeting about every other month and trying to provide some of that broader vision and insight to what is shared services and how do we stay headed in the right direction. And I don't know if today was a step forward or in a way a step backward, because there was a reality check. And that reality check came when we started to talk about all these different things. And this is just one example. This is just some IT examples that relate to access, completion, and success. So we talked about this slide, and we had some great insights, certainly from the campuses, but from our friends that joined us. And as we looked at this, we talked about it, came to the realization through the conversation how much work we had in front of us. And so I just wanted to capture some of the things that we noted within this meeting and things that we have to think about. We have to think about it as a system. And the first one is prioritization. And I guarantee you everyone in the room will nod their head, prioritization. We got 6 big ideas, we got 9 getting down to business things, we have 2 others, and many other things that are happening obviously at the campus level too. And how does that prioritization fit into what the Chancellor just said, which is access, completion, and success? The other thing that we talked about this morning was how do you make this customer focused? Customers being our students. How do we know what they want? How do we know what they need? And that should lead to some of our prioritization. We also talked about our role, and this is something that's big to SUNY and has become much larger over the last 4 years since the Chancellor joined us, and that is what's our role within the state of New York. We are an incredibly important asset to the state of New York, and the future of the state of New York lies in our hands. The other thing is how do you create shared responsibilities? What is the role of the campus presidents? What is the role of system? And so I think we've learned a lot even through these conversations this morning about what those things are. But those are the dialogues that have to happen or we will not be successful in this. The other thing I wanted to mention was we like to do this at our committee meeting, we like to have a campus or a group of people present something, a win, something that great is going on. So this morning we had some of the folks from Cortland describe a process and a tool that they put in place first at Cortland, and it was for online tutoring. So it was first for the Cortland students, then it grew to 4 other schools, then it grew to 3 other schools, including TC3 and Oswego. Now it's grown, adding Mooresville, Empire State, and Binghamton. And so now they've created this shared service, and it's great. It's an opt-in shared services. The students want it, the campuses decide. But now it's getting too big. They have issues with, how do you procure this? How do you negotiate a contract because we're so big? How do you manage it? What about the resources at SUNY Cortland that are dedicated to this on behalf of all the other campuses? So it's a great example of something bubbling up from the bottom, but it's also hitting all the issues that we're facing with anything related to shared services.